Hello one and all, my name's John Clare, this is John's Dark Arts and you are very welcome. Today's preponderance, today's question I want to answer. The whole thing about who or what is an artist. Now this might be completely anecdotal, entirely from my own personal point of view, but there does seem to be like this kind of weird, not so much stigma, but I think there's this misnomer that being an artist is some kind of vocation, some kind of calling. You know, my question to that in answer would be like, what is an artist? Who makes art? Well, the answer to that question is everybody. Anybody can be an artist. Anyone can draw, anyone can... Like, the great thing about drawing is it's probably one of the art forms with the lowest barrier to entry. I mean, literally, all you need to do is pick up a piece of paper and a biro and you can draw. The only reason why people become proficient, become good, become competent at drawing or painting or whatever is because they find they have an aptitude for it. For some people, that aptitude is stronger than others. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what is art? It's just like literally just the culmination of human creativity. That's all it really is. I mean, anybody could be an artist and in the art form. You know, as I said before, whether it's music or photography or, you know, art or whatever, you know, I don't think it really matters. I mean, the term artist comes from the word artisan, and an artisan is just someone who works with their hands. That's all it comes down to at the end of the day. Like, you're working with your hands to create something. Once upon a time, like, you know, some of the great painters that we recognise now as geniuses, whereas Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Caravaggio, whoever, you know, these great Renaissance and post-Renaissance artists, they were seen as artisans. They were just seen as like, all right, then what do we need to do to make this painting, this church look nice? All right, let's stick some paintings of Jesus Christ, you know, being drawn up by the Romans on the crucifix. I was like, yeah, it's only really after the Renaissance, you know, when you had like these great artists, these great painters become renowned for their craft. It's the same with the sculptors, Donatello and also Michelangelo. You know, not only was a great painter, he was a great sculptor too. But you know, what's sculpting? Well, back then it was basically, you know, a variation of stonemasonry. You know, to become a great sculptor in marble, you need to be an excellent stonemason. You know, and all that really, it's an evolution from cutting up blocks to build a wall to creating beautiful statues as an adornment. You know, in terms of what we know as an artist, like a lot of it seems to be, especially like, you could argue that a lot of this was kind of started in the early 20th century. Like, I don't know, like you could go back to the 60s with Andy Warhol, for instance. You know, he knew how to court the media, he hung around at the right parties, he knew the right people, had the right contacts, wore a silly wig. It's not any detriment to his art. His art was very, you know, very indicative of him as a person, because he was quite a kooky character, and his art kind of reflects that, I think. But also like Salvador Dali, another great example. Like, he was, you know, initially he was having trouble selling his paintings. So what happened was his missus ended up becoming his manager, and she turned around to him and said, well, you know what would be, if you're going to be an artist, you've got to act like an artist. So he grew out his moustache, he had the silly haircut, the funny looks, the outlandish dress sense, the fact that he used to walk around in Barcelona with a pet leopard, you know, all this mad shit. And even in relatively recently, artists like Damien Hirst, his work I'm no fan of, but you got to respect the hustle. You know, cutting cows in half, or his spin paintings, or, you know, creating a skull made out of diamonds worth 50 million quid, or Banksy. Like Banksy, I think with Banksy, you know, obviously we don't know who he is. I don't know if I think that secret's kind of been revealed already. Not publicly, but I think it's been well established, like an identity for Banksy has been given, and I'm sure you can find out if you Google it or go on Reddit or whatever. But, you know, initially, what did he do? He painted on the sides of buildings. Do you know what I mean? He created what his art was on the side of the buildings. His art was for the people. It was quite a, you know, there was a message behind it. You know, there was a bit of wit behind it. And as soon as it became valuable, you know, rich people come along, cut holes in walls and cart it off to some auctions in Saudi Arabia to be sold to the first kleptocrat or oligarch for God knows how much money. And even when like Banksy tried to protest and rebel against the whole thing with the infamous shredding of his one of his works at Christie's. Was it Christie's or Sotheby's? I'll have to Google it. Let's have a look. And through the act of clever editing, I'm going to check it. You'll see it now. Okay, got that? Good. So yeah, when he shredded that painting, he inadvertently made that piece even more valuable. I mean, I think it was supposed to be a very clever and witty protest. He was kind of thumbing his nose at the art market, so to speak. But it ended up to the point where, no joke, I mean, we could, again, a quick cursory glance at Google, you'll find out whether this is true or not. But apparently there was reports of when people saw Banksy shred his work, they decided to take a scissor to their own examples of his pieces, thinking it was going to up their value. Obviously failing to take the joke. But, you know, still funny. I think a lot of artists, it's savvy media management. And maybe to an extent you could accuse me of doing that with, you know, doing all this YouTube malarkey. You know, publicising my work through media. But that's kind of like the public image of what an artist is. But in its kind of simplest terms, an artist is just somebody being creative. Like, whatever your weapon of choice is, whether it's, you know, one of these, or, you know, guitars or pianos or harpsichords, whether you're a photographer, a cinematographer, an editor, whatever, you know. At the end of the day, art is the culmination of human creativity. That's what it is. And what an artist is, he's just someone who's being creative and trying to express themselves and put something new into the world. And that's incredibly valuable in of itself. You know, you don't have to go to the Royal College of Art and get a degree and then, you know, be in with the right people. I mean, obviously that helps in some respects, but in terms of actually wanting to be creative, I think, you know, you can be an artist if you want. If that's your aptitude, if that's the way you lean, if you want to pick up whatever instrument and create something with it, then you're an artist. Yeah, art is for everyone, and to be honest with you, art should be for everyone. You know, going back to Banksy, the fact that he, instead of like trying, initially at least anyway, especially around the early 2000s, you know, his paintings were on the sides of buildings around Hackney or Bristol, places like that, in working class run-down areas. But anyway, I digress. You're an artist, all right, if you want to be. You can go out, you can make art. And I think that's an important thing, you know. Don't worry about what the media says an artist is. I just think there's just too much kind of, you know, there's too much of a stigma attached to the word. You know, art is for everyone. And if you're an artist, I think, if at all possible, try and make your art as accessible to everyone as possible. You know, it's something that I want to achieve, because I'm looking at setting up my website and selling prints, but I want to sell prints at an affordable level. You know, I love it when I'll go around to a friend's house and see that they've got, you know, because I like giving out prints and gifts to my friends. So, and then go around their house and seeing that one of my prints is in a frame on their wall. I love that, you know. And when it comes to selling prints, the last thing I want to do is, you know, don't get me wrong, I want to make money. I've got to live, you know. I mean, at some point I need to afford a gym membership so I can get rid of all of this. But at the same time, I want to try and make my art as accessible as possible. Social media undoubtedly has its advantages in terms of enabling people to make their work accessible. You know, my Instagram is lit up with, you know, people I follow and I don't follow. You know, one thing I suppose about the Instagram algorithm is actually showing me stuff that I want to watch, which the same can't be said for TikTok. But yeah, like I go through and I see all these amazing artists all putting their work up. Some have got 2 likes, some have got 10,000 likes. You know, but the fact that they're trying to get out there and trying to amplify their voice, I think that's a wonderful thing. I mean, the whole likes thing is probably a bit of a negative. You know, the whole kind of chasing for, what would be the word? Affirmation. All right. I suppose one of the big drawbacks is likes, trying to gain likes through Instagram and seeking that kind of affirmation that it gives is a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, in some ways it could be a great way of encouraging a young artist to keep putting out work and, you know, seeing that positive feedback. But also it can be a bit of a negative thing because you're then not producing the work for yourself. You're doing it to meet what the algorithm says or whatever. I don't know. I'm a little bit, I think social media is a double-edged sword to an extent. But at the same time, it does help artists amplify their voice. And yeah, and it enables everyone to appreciate their hard work. And I'm sure like there's plenty of people out there who are very good at what they do but not getting paid enough. You know, this is a good way of getting them work, getting them commissions, you know, pointing people to their website, johnsdarkart.com, and hopefully picking up a print, or buying a piece of their work or whatever it is. But yeah, I think the point I'm getting at, I suppose, in my own weird rambling roundabout way, is that look, everyone's an artist if they want to be an artist. Everyone can be creative, and you know, as long as you start with that kind of love, like I was saying in my previous video about enjoying the process, you know, being at one with the process, entering the state of flow. If you're able to do that, I think that, you know, there's a huge amount of tranquility that can be achieved by allowing yourself to be creative. I mean, I have pretty high level self-confidence, and one of the reasons why I feel as confident as I do is because I feel I'm pretty competent at the things that I do. Well, being creative is a great way of building confidence. It's a great way of meeting people. Like whether you're a musician, you can get to meet people, form a band, play music together, create music together. If you're an artist, if you want to exhibit your work when you feel the time is right, you can do that. You can go out and meet people, network, you know. But if all you want to do is just draw for the sake of drawing because you enjoy and love doing it, then that's great too. You know, you don't have to be an Andy Warhol. You don't have to be a Caravaggio. You don't have to be any of these people. Yeah, fuck it. You don't have to be anybody. You don't have to look at yourself in that particular light. You don't have to be a kooky weirdo to be an artist. You know, as long as you enjoy what you're doing and you're being creative and you're being happy in yourself, and that creativity breeds competence, that breeds confidence, that makes you feel better about yourself in general, then yeah, go be an artist. Create something. Share it with the world in whatever way you see fit. My name's John Clare. This has been John's Dark Art, and you have been very welcome. Till next time.